Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode here on the Rescue Cycle Workshop, and we're going to be doing a cold start on the 1976 Land Rover Series 3. Every classic car and vehicle is a wee bit different as to how it starts, so I'm going to take you through how to get this one started. It's a diesel, it's cold, so it takes a bit of effort. Let's get stuck in. Alright, so it's pretty windy today here at home, so I'm going to keep the vehicle inside the garage today and open up the doors just to let the fumes out. So 1976 Land Rover Series 3, for those of you who aren't familiar so much with this channel, I have restored this once and repainted it again a second time, and I like to make videos here every week about how I maintain it and keep it on the road. At the minute it's more difficult to make videos because it's completely behaving itself, utterly reliable, isn't really giving any bother at the minute. So let's show you how I start this Land Rover up. And before we take it out for a ride today, I like to take it out at least once a week just to keep the battery charged, fluid circulating, and keep on top of things, stop the brakes getting seized, all those sort of things. Old vehicles like to be used. Let's look under the bonnet first of all. So this is the mighty powerhouse of the 2.25 litre or 2.25 litre diesel. It doesn't create a lot of horsepower, it does create a lot of noise, and it uses a lot of diesel, but I really like it because it's the original. It's never been opened and there's only 44,000 miles on this engine. So before you start any engine after it's sitting for a while, do some checks. So in here obviously is the radiator, and I haven't checked that in a while, and it's good to see that the coolant is up to level. That's all well and good, but we'll just check the overflow in here. That could probably do with the top up, so let's get that done before we start the engine. Also to check on a diesel, or any engine of course, is the dipstick. Always better to check this when it's cold, and maybe appears to be a little high if anything else, so that's a wee bit unusual. No, I'm going to say that's within level. I'll give that a wipe now. Let's have a look at that. So this is the dipstick all cleaned, and I'm just going to dip the oil again so you have high, low and minimum low. So let's put it back in. Nice boring start to the video, I'm sure you'll agree. Yep. It's just about the high mark. I can live with that, that's fine. Also going to highlight my nice red earthing cable because that upsets many of you who comment upon this video. Why is it red? Because I had red and I got the company just to crimp on some ends. It should be black, yes I know, and someday I'll get a black one put on and make it all a bit tidier so there's not a loose wire that can flap around, because the fan blade's just in there and that could make quite an electrical mess. So that is definitely on the jobs list to do, tidy this up. Right, we'll go around inside the Land Rover here and make a go at getting it started up. Okay. So now we're sitting inside the Land Rover. The sound will probably be a wee bit better in here. Take you through some of the controls. Obviously, steering wheel, 3 pedals, throttle or accelerator pedal on the right, clutch and brake. We have the main gear stick, so 4-speed, overdrive, which is currently disconnected and in parts in a box. You can find other videos on that on the channel. 4-wheel drive, which is selectable on the move, and high and low range, which is definitely not selectable on the move unless you're handy with a clutch, because that's a dog box. Handbrake in here. I leave the handbrake off when it's parked and just keep it in gear just so there's no brake problems. The gauges and instruments are very simple. We have a speedometer with an odometer. Sorry, I said 44,000 miles, there's 45. Very high mileage. This is obviously in miles per hour. We have water temperature, which may or may not be entirely accurate. I also have a charge. So ordinarily in the Series 3 that is just a charge indicator light, but I find this handy little gauge. I think it was an export only gauge and it's slotted in there nicely, and it is actually a voltmeter. Over here we have fuel, indicator, beacons. These are electrical ports which are permanently live and not fused, which always worries me slightly, but so I probably do need to put a fuse in that little circuit. You can get an inspection lamp to put in there, and I always wondered if you could plug in maybe like a phone charger or a USB, something like that, nice and tidily. So that's maybe something we'll look at in the future. Over here, this is panel lights. Now I have a 2-position switch on there because the second position is wired to a work lamp at the back, which is currently removed, but that's my little add-on. These are side lights and headlights, window wiper switch and squirters, or window washers, and this is your 2-position fan switch. And then heater controls at the side. We have indicator stock with horn on the back, and down here we have the key, and on the diesels this is the engine stop pull, and I think on the petrols this is a choke, but someone I'm sure will correct me if I'm wrong in that. So that definitely has to be in before you can try and start the diesel, otherwise it's stopping fuel getting through to the engine itself. This steering wheel is not the correct steering wheel. I actually have the correct one in a box, so I'm going to get that put on soon, but I'll have to restore it. And this here should be a crinkle finish. Again, that's something I'm going to look to do. Right, key in the ignition, and that is the oil pressure light on. Obviously there's no oil pressure because the engine's not running or turning, so that is why that little light is on. I like to give the throttle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pumps. And then what I'm going to do is sit with the glow plugs on for 30 seconds. Now you probably don't need 30 seconds. It's summertime here, the air temperature outside is about 15 degrees. But I don't like the starter motor sitting turning and turning and turning and turning. So I'm going to sit here with that little cold start. So that's showing you that the glow plugs are working. That's going to sit on there for 30 seconds. 3, 2, 1. And let's see if she'll start up. So okay, maybe give her a wee bit of throttle this time. Nice and smoky. We shot outside for all you cold start diesel fans, and the exhaust smoke is clearing already. So something that always worries me or concerns me is that this little charge light will never, or the charge indicator will not, the alternator won't charge until she gets a few revs. Now I don't like revving a cold engine, so we'll get that done in a little minute, let it settle down. Plenty of fuel on board, water temperature is deciding what it wants to do. A little bit of vibration there in the speedometer, but something all nice and representative and YouTube reality. Okay, so back in the garage, as you can see, had a bit of a run there. All good. Alternator came on charge just whenever you really increase the revs, but I don't like it because you really need to get the engine to max revs to kick the alternator into life. I think you have to excite the fields or something. If someone who has watched this far into the video could really take some time to explain to me, number one, why that happens, and number two, how to fix it, that would be great. I might need to buy a new alternator because I don't like revving a cold old diesel engine with a 3-bearing crank. I think that's just going to be a recipe for disaster in the long term. Something else that I've noticed here while making this video is this white fur on the battery terminal. It almost certainly means there's a bit of a leak in the battery, and that's acid attacking the metal and creating that fur, which also increases resistance within the battery terminals and makes starting more difficult. So I'll clean it off, but I think in the long term we're going to be looking at a new battery, which is very disappointing because that one's not that old, but I had a few starting problems for a while, which probably meant it got too hot, and that is why it has damaged it. So there you go. Let's wrap that video up here. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll go from there. See you soon. So I really hope you enjoyed that video on this week's episode on the Resto Saga Workshop. I hope you're also enjoying the shorts videos that I've started making sort of on around a Tuesday. They go out. You'll catch a video every week here on the channel, and please hit the like button down below and give me a subscribe as well, and fire me a comment. I reply to every comment given to me here on the channel, whether good or not so constructive, shall we say. You can also catch me on Facebook and on Instagram. Get in touch through all those channels, and I try and spread out the content throughout. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again next week. Cheerio!